Yeah, I mean, obviously they did miss Rohit because he was only top order batsman, the only one in the top four who made runs in the previous match. So, and he's always shown himself to be a bit of a form and confidence kind of player. So when he gets on a roll, he gets on a roll, and team can bat around him. So Rohit not playing was a factor, but I don't think it was overwhelmingly a decisive factor. This was a funny sort of pitch in terms of the fact that there was more bounce for the bowlers, and England have got one of the tallest bowling attacks with Anderson, Oakes, Finn, and Broad. They're all guys who can sort of hit the deck and get appreciable bounce. Of course, Anderson is a world-class swing bowler as well. The fact that they were able to exploit the bounce of the pitch. India didn't so much struggle against the bouncing ball. In the past, we have seen that the batsmen have looked awkward. They have got out manufacturing shots, playing the pull awkwardly. They were not troubled in that sense. They didn't look like they were going to get out because they were in trouble with the short ball. The problem was that when the ball was bouncing so much, they were not able to get into positions to drop the ball, look for singles. So what happened was that while Rahane was batting freely, Raidu, obviously his first match of the tour, and the fact that he walked into a situation like this where the ball was going a fair bit in terms of bounce, so he got sort of got stuck, and with Rahane therefore forced to look for scoring opportunities. It just became a very tricky situation. It didn't help that Dhawan again went early. So and then just when the partnership was beginning to sort of stabilize the innings, and first Rahane got out trying to play a shot. Then Raidu got out, then Kohli got out, and then Raina got out in the very early in his piece. So there was just no sort of rhythm to the innings. There was no flow at all. Yeah. Stuart Binny could not have hurt his chances at all. Obviously, there have been a lot of question marks raised over his selection in the first place. But he showed sort of today. This is not like a decisive, clinching, match-winning kind of effort. But Stuart showed today what he can bring to the table. He showed that he's decent in a crisis. He showed that he could hit the ball a long way, which is the firepower that Dhoni is talking about not having towards the tail end of the innings. And he also bowled 6-7 good overs. In fact, one of the questions I asked Dhoni at the press conference was idea behind giving Stuart the new ball. And he said that Dhoni said that Stuart also swings the ball, and they wanted to sort of see how he acquits himself with the new ball, so that it gives them another option going forward. So from a personal perspective, I think Stuart had a reasonably satisfying day. But obviously, he could have done more, and I think he would regret playing the shot that he did when more than 10 overs were left. I know he was batting with number 10, but any run that we could have got from there on would have been fantastic for the team. So he will take a few positives. He will feel that he could have done a little more, but I don't think he has done his chances any harm at all. Obviously, he will only play when the conditions necessitate him to play as a fourth seam bowling all-rounder. Maybe sometimes if he does well over the next couple of games, then he might even come in as a third teamer who can give Dhoni about 7 or 8 overs. That is something we'll have to keep an eye on. But yeah, definitely he did his chances no harm at all. Yeah, I think in one way it might free them up, that they know exactly what they need to do now if they have to qualify. And while the qualification will be important, I think it's not the be-all and end-all, because as we keep saying, this tournament is not a tournament in isolation. It's more working towards the World Cup, as you said. So, yes, it will. Their confidence would have taken a beating, but they also know that they are trying to figure out various pieces of the puzzle. So while they will be disheartened by the loss, they will not sort of, it is not the end of the road for them by any stretch of the imagination. Of course, there is so much work to be done, especially with the batting the strongest. It's also struggling a little bit now. So plenty of work lies ahead. But it was interesting to hear Dhoni talk about getting breaks between matches so that you remain fresh mentally and physically. India has already been here for 2 months. They're going to be here for at least 2 more months. So there is a lot of thought that has gone into managing resources. And at the end of the day, yes, there is no substitute for results on the field. You can do all the management that you want, and it will really look silly if you do not have victories on the board. And India haven't had a win in 2 months in Australia yet. But it's nice to see that they're at least planning towards making sure that the team remains as fresh as it can at the end of 2.5 months when they get into the World Cup. It's one of those stories that brings a smile to your face. I mean, Finn came into the England setup with great deal of hope, and he brought a lot of promise with him. And somewhere along the way, he had problems with his action. He kept running into stumps at the non-striker then when he was delivering the ball, and he sort of just lost confidence. You could see that you could just sort of see him crack up mentally. And then he is himself confessed to having gone back from training session and breaking out in tears because he just didn't know what to do. He asked many people, he got a lot of advice, and he tried to implement everything, and nothing went right for him. So he went back from Australia around about this time last year. He went to England, he worked on his bowling, he found the right people to guide him through the process. Owen Morgan was a huge help in that period. He was also the one-day captain for Middlesex, for whom Finn plays. So it just sort of basically where he is today because of a lot of hard work, because of a lot of belief and support from people at crucial times. So it's nice to see him do well. Nice to see him sit in the press conference with a smile on his face. It wasn't the case this time last year, so it's a good story. I mean, these are the kind of stories that you look forward to, rather than the stories about David Warner, for instance. Too early to say whether this has got the Owen Morgan stamp. Obviously, like I said before, the conditions have been were pretty good for England faster bowlers. They could exploit the bounce. They're capable enough of exploiting the bounce. And when it comes to the batting, this is the kind of freedom that they were missing when Alistair Cook was opening the innings. So now with Cook not there, it sort of freed up the minds of the English batsmen. So there is no pressure on any one individual to make up for the fact that Cook was struggling to score runs at the other end. So now there is a greater, more settled and more aggressive look to it. Whether it is the Morgan touch or whether it should have been this case, even if somebody else had become the captain, we can only debate it at this point. But yeah, England have most certainly benefited from the action of Cook, and we can clearly see that the Cook era is a thing of the past.